Hi, everyone. Get comfortable because today we're back at the heart of the scandal shaking the entertainment press. And yes, once again, at the center are Can Yaman, Sarah Bluma, and, as an inevitable shadow, Demet Özdemir. After months of silence, Can reportedly let slip a private remark that ended up exploding on social media. According to people around him, at a dinner, he went quiet, looked at his glass, and in a completely calm voice said he made the right decision by breaking up with Sarah because there were certain things devouring his life. Those who were there say the atmosphere froze. No one expected him, so reserved lately, to break his restraint like that. And in recent weeks, Can had been keeping to himself, away from cameras, trying to focus on his projects, but with emotional exhaustion that was noticeable. That comment was the first visible crack in something that had been building for a long time. The problem is that as soon as that confession leaked, Sarah's reaction poured more fuel on the fire. She first stayed silent, then posted a sharp message. Some people take a long time to decide, others decide wrong, but sooner or later, everyone gets what they deserve. Her followers read it as a direct jab at Can, but the real punch came later when she posted an even more ambiguous line. That betrayal is sometimes not an act, but silence. That word, betrayal, sparked a war of interpretations and made it clear the breakup wasn't as gentle as people thought. While social media was burning, the third corner of the triangle reappeared. Demet. She has been annoyed for years that her name gets dragged into this story. But now, according to rumors, she told close friends she doesn't want to be pulled into these matters again, though the truth will eventually come out. And of course, the internet erupted with the usual question: is a new chapter opening, or is the past just resurfacing? As for the reasons behind the split, one version keeps circulating behind the scenes. The ending had been brewing, but the spark was a social media post. They say Sarah uploaded a photo Can didn't want, and it hit him hard. He allegedly told his people he can't stay with someone who doesn't respect his life, his work, and his privacy. From Sarah's side, a different reading emerges. She reportedly felt he was too controlling, that there was tension over what was shared online, and that she sometimes felt restricted. Two different stories, yet both point to the same thing: a relationship that ended up draining them both. On top of that, people in Can's professional circle supposedly noticed the strain. A director he worked with long ago said Can arrived at a meeting extremely tired, as if the relationship were crushing him inside. Another colleague summed it up: on the outside, he tries to look strong, but inside he's in a storm. And that idea went viral. If he spoke like that, it's because he couldn't take it anymore. Social media, as expected, split in two. Some applauded Can for closing a chapter. Others saw Sarah as the more mature side of the drama. At the same time, many pointed out the obvious. It's no coincidence Demet's name resurfaces every time things heat up. But pay attention to this twist. Suddenly, Sarah deleted all her posts. Her account was left with only calm photos of sky, sea, sunsets. For her followers, it's calm after the storm. For tabloids, it's the kind of silence that comes right before something bigger blows up. People even say she turned off her phone for hours and confided a harsh line to a friend, that she is distancing herself not to forget, but not to remember, because some memories aren't erased, only buried. And here comes the unsettling detail again. According to leaks, Sarah reportedly told people close to her that there are certain things she won't say, because if she did, everyone would change their mind. What things? No one knows, and that deepens the mystery. And Can? After the earthquake, he allegedly tried to lower the tone. He told friends he feels uncomfortable with how everything got blown out of proportion because what he said was intimate in a private setting, but at the same time, it said he's going through a serious reflection on the boundaries between his career and personal life. In recent meetings with his representative, he reportedly stressed that from now on, his privacy must be strictly protected, even asking to reduce the focus on his private life in promotional strategies for some projects. So here we are. Can reaffirming that breaking up was the right choice, Sarah talking about betrayal and sinking into a silence full of signals, and Demet appearing like a ghost no one names officially, but everyone invokes. A definitive ending or a pause before the next blow? That's the big question. Because in stories like this, when everything seems to go quiet, that's often exactly when the worst begins. The image of Demet Özdemir in all this mess gives me a different feeling than Can Yaman does. With her, I don't sense so much the loudness of personal show, but rather the weight of how she's being positioned in the narrative. Almost as if she were the useful piece to explain, justify, or sanitize what's happening around him. And honestly, that feels unfair and at the same time terribly convenient for those who manage the public storyline. I see Demet turned into a container where many people dump anger that actually comes from frustration with Can, his swings, his scandals, and that habit of appearing surrounded by a murky atmosphere right as a release approaches. In the end, she's left carrying the shadow of a story she didn't write. That label of dark woman or unpleasant that some repeat so confidently unsettles me. Not because I think Demet is perfect or untouchable, no one is, but because it's a judgment that's too easy and above all, too useful for others. When I read that everything is set up to clean up the image and that producers don't want a launch to be affected, I feel that fits Khan's environment much more than Demet's reality. In my view, she isn't the one needing a makeover. If anything, she's the one paying the price for someone else's makeover. And the most ironic part is that if tomorrow they announce they made peace, many people will interpret it as his noble gesture, when maybe it's just another promotional move in which she shows up to fill holes that aren't hers. I also get the impression Demet is more aware of the media chessboard around her. I don't see her acting like someone dragged by impulse, but like a woman who learned to move in a world where any silence turns into suspicion and any sentence becomes a headline. That's why I understand when she chooses to stay quiet or step aside, even if it irritates some people. In cases like these, silence isn't always running away. Sometimes it's a shield. And if there was a difficult relationship or an environment that made her uncomfortable, I don't expect her to put on a show to convince the public. I expect distance, consistency, and boundaries. To me, that's maturity. At the same time, I understand there may be hurt fans who project onto Demet the cause of everything. Because when an idol disappoints, the mind looks for an external culprit. But I personally don't buy that need to manufacture a villain. It feels more realistic to accept that relationships, personal or professional, have two sides, gray areas, shared mistakes, and a lot of context. Saying he knew who he was getting into a relationship with is true, sure, but it works the other way too. She also knew what she was stepping into, and that doesn't make her a bad person. It makes her human. If she entered something complicated or got pulled into a toxic dynamic, that doesn't define her forever. What defines her more, to me, is what she does afterward, how she gets out, what she learns, what she chooses to repeat or not repeat. And that's where I feel Demet, unlike Can, doesn't need to dramatize it for people to see she changed. There's also something that weighs a lot for me. Demet has been showing for a while that she can sustain her career without leaning on these controversies. She has presence, talent, and her own path. She doesn't need to return to any past or any person to stay relevant. That's why it shocks me when some treat her as if her central role were to be the X, the enemy, the one responsible for the chaos, or the obstacle to remove so can be saved. That reading reduces her to a side character. And I don't see her that way. I see someone who has carried other people's expectations, fandom nostalgia, endless comparisons, and still kept going. That takes character.